Apple to review those. And we can make changes and make those better and stronger. But what we want to do is, like, it's Abby and I doing this with just the two of us. We don't want to write a whole strategic plan based on the feedback without first getting agreement on like these kind of like overarching principles. And then we'll get into the details with everyone and kind of workshop those. So that's really what we're working on today. I think 2 areas where we'll want to, or at least 1 area where we'll want to just consider input, and hopefully she joins. But Jeanette Rose brought up the notion of, kind of including, she's really focused on including the metric of young boys being left behind in the workplace. I think that's definitely a data metric we're tracking. How I've envisioned that is a part of some of our leading indicators that we're tracking, but also in the underrepresented section that could get a bigger call out. If folks feel that it is necessary though to put into the full, like as one of our top line items in the like headlines in the strategic plan, then that's something we could add as an amendment. Otherwise we could agree and, vote, I guess, on it to make sure it's included in the strategies, like the broken down strategies, and agree on that. I personally don't know if I feel it needs to be a headline, but that is obviously up to the operating committee as a whole. So something to consider once Adam jumps on, or folks can give their thoughts there.
Well, if Janet, I mean, I guess like if she were to make her case about that, I mean, I think I've heard her speak about how strongly she feels about it, and she's trying to call attention to the fact that for so long we've looked at other underserved, populations, and then, suddenly this is a population that nobody was thinking about, and now even test scores and stuff are showing up. So, I mean, it sounds like your mind's open to having her make her case. So if she were to show up and make her case, I'm certainly open-minded to it if she can make the case that it needs a headliner. But absent that case being made, I'm with you. I think it sounds like your approach sounds reasonable. But of course, if she can demonstrate a need to elevate that, my ears are open.
I think I am too. I think what's interesting about this is when I served on, and this is me talking as Dustin, not a member of the administration or on behalf of the Department of Labor. But when I served on Senate Education, this was actually brought up right back in 2016, must have been 16, 15. And the reality is, even then, if you look at the demographics of folks who matriculate out of high school and onto any post-secondary education in Vermont, I mean, the numbers are actually really bad for boys. It's significantly worse. And there was a program, Tiffany, you might remember, it was called Man Up or Step Up out of Lamoille County, that was literally geared towards, and it's not just gender, right? I think it's more socioeconomic than anything. It's poor boys, just like poor girls are less likely to go on to school than better, folks who come from a wealthier or more middle class family. But the stark data was really that those lower income boys were the outlier. So I don't think it's new. I just think it's, again, this is me talking as I look at the recording and the transcription. I really think it's just not super politically correct to be focusing on that specific demographic, and that's why there's been pushback over the years. For right or wrong, right? I mean, there's no doubt we need to focus on everybody, and if we could focus on everybody, that'd be great. But I understand where Janet's coming from for sure.
Yeah. So, hi, Adam. So we're just talking about, and I'll kind of give my spiel again. For today's vote, what we're voting on is, again, this is the top line strategies. It's just like if we're building a ship analogy, it's just, this is the framework. This is not the meat and potatoes. That will come back to this group and other committees for further vote. But the one area for consideration that Jeanette brought up was including the younger males as like a top line strategy. I believe she's supposed to hop on, but if she doesn't, I believe that this is something that definitely should be included in the strategic plan. I think for our view is that it should be included under the underrepresented populations, and as a metric that we track, but not as a top.
Got to get that broadband fixed in the administration building.
I was gonna say, of all places for the Wi-Fi to go.
Someone take a
I know.
screenshot of that.
Abby, are you on the
Here?
5th floor or are you to home?
What's that,
I'm
Dustin?
on the 5th floor, but we're in a different room. Hold on 1 second.
Tori's in my old office. The giant office.
Well, while we're waiting, apologies for my tardiness, folks. Good to see everybody.
Good to see you,
too,
Adam.
Looks like you just came in from the cold too.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice out right now, but
Oh, good.
Sorry, everyone. Teams just kicked me out of the meeting. So
Take the hint, Tori.
I guess so.
so Tori, are you suggesting that you are considering adding that to the strategic plan, but not in this document at a later point?
Yeah,
deeper dive?
I agree. I agree with her in that we should include that as an area of focus, but it would probably be more appropriately fitting as a metric we track through WIOA, but also something that we could monitor when we're talking about strategies for underrepresented groups and then career pathways. So I think it would be something that we could build out. But again, I want to say that like if this group feels strongly that it should be like as high of a priority as like, if we say workforce system alignment, create and implement a warm handoff system, if it needs to be a top line strategy, then we can include it. But I just wanted to make that clear because it wasn't included in the Excel spreadsheet that is something we believe should be included in the strategic plan. I did not include it as a top strategy, but it could be. So I just want, if that's something people want to amend, I want to just give time for that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of other things that we would then by rights need to also consider to elevate. So
Yeah.
to Janet's, point, and Tori, Abby, and I communicated on this yesterday. So here's a member of this committee who's putting time in to review it, and think making sure, because she's not on the call today, that her pointing this out, one is nationally a case across the whole country, right? It's not just even unique to Vermont. And two, it does need to become a strategy of implementation, but this one is such a weird spot because it's slightly strategic planning for the organization, but also strategic planning for implementation a little. So it's hard to decide what to put in, what not to put in, but I think this one, I would agree with your interpretation, is one layer deeper than what we're looking at today.
Okay. Any other thoughts on that before
Secretary Curley has her hand up. I may not see it.
Yeah, I mean, before you get on, Adam, I essentially was saying the same thing, but I also just want to loop back around and say, for me, absent a stronger case to be made to make it a headliner, I like the idea of putting it in where Tori has suggested, with the idea that it becomes something that we start to place more focus and emphasis on. And if it warrants becoming a headliner, that can happen in the next revision, right, of our plan. So like I said, absent something right now to make me change my mind, I like the approach that Tori is recommending.
And I'll also
Yeah,
mention that,
Yep.
oh, sorry, I was just gonna say that we'll bring this to the full board, but it's not like if you vote on this now, at the full board meeting, you're required to remain silent and we can't make any more changes. We just wanted to get this group like on board with the general direction. Then we'll get we'll get feedback. Things will obviously change when we get the full board involved. But yes, like again, if we have further discussion, and hopefully Jeanette can make the next meeting, or she and I can talk. If there's a big case to be made there as making it a headline, then obviously that's something that the board or this group could consider.
Chris, you had something to say?
Yeah, I agree. And the reason why is because I had given some feedback to Abby and Tori as well. And it was of the same vein. That would be really the next level of analysis and what we'd want to execute on. I think that's where sometimes you start to peel the onion a little bit. Yeah, you get a little bit too granular. Then it's not a strategy. I'm not saying Jeanette's points are that granular. I'm just saying it's part of the vetting process.
Yeah. And then Ellen, I saw your feedback email and I agree with you. Abby and I talked about that, and we'll make sure as we're doing the kind of further review that will include what the agency and departments are the existing work that they're doing. So it's pretty clear. And thank you for making the time with testimony today. I know that's always chaotic. So with that, I'll turn it over. Unless there's I'll take other thoughts, other changes folks want to make before we move on to a vote.
I'm not hearing any. All right, so all those in favor of the proposed strategic planning document that we've all seen and discussed today, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Nope. Okay, great. So that was unanimous.
All right. Thank you all so much for your help. There's been really great feedback, and we'll continue to keep you in the loop as this goes. I know it's a big lift for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye,
T.
everyone.
Thanks, Abby.